Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another live at the waterhole session on the Saturday. I'm Kenneth Campbell, your guide for the day, and yeah, hopefully it's going to be a good session. It sounds like we've had a wild dog kill here near the Hyde in Wangi National Park. Got a couple of vultures on the scene. It would be awesome if the wild dogs pop up. I don't think I'm necessarily going to see them, but still very cool to see the vultures on the scene. Looks like we've actually got a couple of lappet-faced vultures. Not a vulture we have seen too often on the show, and also a smaller hooded vulture there. But these lappet-faced vultures are immense in their size. You can just see them dwarfing the other raptors at the scene here. Also looks like there's a small little bateleur hobbling around looking for some scraps. Also just mentioning, please, this is a live and interactive show, so please send through your questions. It's great fun answering them and having some cool discussions. So yeah, let's see what's in store for us. Amazing. You don't really truly realize how big those lappet-faced vultures are until they're next to a few other birds of prey, and they make the other birds of prey look like little pigeons there. But would love to know what they've or what the wild dogs killed there. More than likely an impala or something like that. But yeah, certainly a pity that we weren't able to witness this live. I mean, that would have been truly amazing. But yeah, that's the way it works. You can be a couple minutes late and you'll miss all the action, and then you just have to piece together the evidence to try to figure out what did happen. A few weeks ago when we were in the Kruger, we came across a scene where it appeared like a bird of prey had killed a scrub hare, and yeah, it was truly interesting to try to figure out what had happened. Was it another predator? But yeah, considering all the evidence and now the scavengers in place, it was more than likely a bird of prey that had taken it down. But it was interesting to see them all scavenging on it. I think we're going to leave our vultures to finish off the scraps here, and we're going to see what's happening at Safari Hook. Quite a vibrant scene here at Safari Hook. We've got a few waterbuck living up to the namesake of the waterhole, but anyway, feels a bit out of place seeing them here at Etosha, such an arid and dry area, and a few very striking springbok. There's a couple of questions coming in just regarding the kill there at the Hyde. So yeah, more than likely the dogs, well, I mean, Julie was asking if the dogs finished or they're scared off. So generally your wild dogs, they'll kill and eat something as quickly as possible. They haven't really got the capabilities of fighting off other scavengers like hyenas or lions, etc. So they will kill something and eat it as quickly as they can, and then desert the scene. They won't really hang around after they've made a kill. So that's more than likely why we haven't seen them. It was, I mean, in all likelihood, that kill was probably done in a couple of minutes. They're incredibly efficient like that. And then just regarding the lappet-faced vultures, yeah, they are your largest vultures. They're probably about a meter or so in height. But yeah, if you ever witness one in person, you'll be struck by how big they are, how large they are. And then following on to that question, there was a question from Sascott Keith asking where vultures nest. So it's quite interesting. All your vultures kind of have different nesting habits. So you've got the Cape vulture. They like to nest on cliff faces in southern Africa. Your whiteback vultures prefer to nest in large thorny trees in the African savanna. Your hooded vultures prefer more riverine trees along rivers. That's where they nest. And yeah, lappet-faced vultures also follow a similar trend of large savanna trees.
For years, we've shared virtual wildlife. Now, let's experience it for real. I'm Lauren Arthur, and I'd love to show you my amazing home here in the Greater Kruger of South Africa. This 5-night journey is an exclusive connection to my piece of untamed Africa. I live here in these gorgeous landscapes surrounded by epic wildlife. The wild is calling, so come and join me.
At Wild Earth, we believe every story has the power to create change. That's why we've launched the Wild Earth Impact Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to conservation and social impact. By showcasing conservation stories, we can change lives, protect nature, and empower communities. We have partnered with Empowers Africa to accept tax-deductible donations from US donors. Your donation will help fund critical programs that support our mission. Join us and be part of the change.
I get to wake up every morning and go out there and look for cats. I get to create my everyday safari for myself. I grew up in the sort of central eastern suburbs of Johannesburg, fully qualified trails guide and a fully qualified nature conservationist. I love the wild places. I love being in the wilderness. It's probably one of the best jobs I've ever had and probably ever could have.
Ah, the bush, full of beauty, wonder, and absolute chaos. And now, all that madness has its own show. It's called a Wild Bush Week. The countdown of the most outrageous, heart-stopping, and sometimes downright ridiculous wildlife moments of the week. Lions throwing their weight around. Hyenas gate-crashing the buffet. Leopards doing, well, leopardy things. Each week, it's a fresh reel of safari gold. A mix of drama.
She's just got an impala, everybody.
Danger, and a healthy dose of laughter. So, if you fancy a highlight show with bite, and I don't mean just the animals, tune in to a Wild Bush Week. You bring the tea, and we'll bring the tusks, tails, and teeth.
Looks like we've got some smoke in the horizon there. I know there's been quite large, widespread fires in the Etosha region or the national park, so I assume that the smoke cloud we're seeing in the background is due to that. I saw a few news articles. It does seem rather devastating, but it is a part of nature. Fire is very much a part of the African savanna and its cycle, but it is always devastating when it does take place, especially at this time in the dry season when food is quite scarce, but it does prepare the season, or prepare the bush quite well for the oncoming wet season. So we've got a peaceful elephant bull just sipping away. Benji mentioning it's quite a dramatic scene and it looks like Mad Max. I do agree, especially with that smoke in the background there. But yeah, the Etosha region is quite arid and flat, so it does certainly give off those feelings or vibes, as one would say. Especially this time of year, quite deep into the dry season now. Everything hinging on that potential of rain. Well, we're going to leave our dramatic landscape here at Safari Hook and see what's waiting for us at Tau. Quite a pretty scene. A wide diversity of different waterfowl around here. A few spoonbills, moorhens, ducks or teals, whichever term you prefer, teals being the correct term, but quite a vibrant contrast with the dry landscape in the background and this lush greenery and the water. It's quite pretty. Chris, you'd like to know if I've noticed a difference in elephant demeanor depending on where they are found. Most certainly. Just off the bat in the Kruger National Park, for example, in my opinion, elephants in the south of Kruger are very friendly, forgiving. Docile is actually the word I think best suits them. Compared to the elephants found in the northern sections of the Kruger, where they're on the Transfrontier and the borders, where they may be exposed to a bit of poaching or human conflict. Those elephants tend to be a bit more sensitive and maybe a bit aggressive or cautious towards people. And I think it grows across a number of reserves or deep into reserves that are quite well visited. Elephants tend to be a lot more docile and friendlier, almost forgiving tourists, whereas very remote areas where they're not exposed to elephants very often, not exposed to people very often, they tend to be a bit more aggressive or cautious. And we've got a very large crocodile there blending in. I see it's wearing a bit of camouflage. See, it's picking its head up there. I wonder if it's going to go in the water. Maggie, you'd like to know if I consider myself a birder, and do guides have to be birders? Yes, so I'm a very addicted birder, or a twitcher, some might say, but I really do enjoy my bird watching. But for the most part, no, guides don't need to be birders. I think everyone finds something they're more passionate about in a different facet of nature. Some people are all-rounders per se. Some people are very into snakes and reptiles. I myself am not a big fan of snakes, but and some people are very into their cats, and I also admire that as much as I get excited about seeing a big cat. I generally find myself chasing after birds or looking for birds more than I spend time looking at cats. But I think any guide should have a very good rough or general understanding of all the facets of nature, whether it be plants, reptiles, birds, insects. That is an important foundation, and from there I think one can start to see what they enjoy the most and focus in on that. We're gonna leave our peaceful scene here at Tau, and we're gonna go over to Camelthorn, see what's going on there. Seems like we've got a couple, or a herd of wildebeest in the area. Quite nice to see the breakup between the black and white stripes. So I don't often see too many wildebeest, I only see one or two, but we're often quite used to huge numbers of zebras, which I'm sure are in the background. So close-up might give us the wrong opinion that there's maybe not too many zebras around. I'm sure there's plenty, but it is quite nice to almost in a way kind of have the wildebeest as a bit of a star of the show. Lucas, you're mentioning how zebras look like they thrive everywhere, and you're asking what is the most adaptable mammal. Yeah, so your zebra is considered a bulk grazer, so they're not too picky on what they graze on, which I think does certainly allow them to adapt to many different habitat types. As long as there's grass, they can feed and eat and thrive. For example, compared to a wildebeest, which is a bit more of a selective grazer, they tend to need certain niche habitats or ecotypes to suit their dietary requirements. But the truly most adaptable mammal, in my opinion, would have to be the impala. As much as I think zebras are definitely a close contender, but they do prefer more open habitats. They don't thrive too well on more thicker habitats, whereas your impala, you will find them from the bottom of the African continent all the way throughout to the top. As long as there's a bit of water within their radius, they will survive very well. They can graze, they can browse, they are incredibly adaptable, they're very successful if you look at how they breed, etc. So I think the truly most adaptable mammal, in my opinion, on the African continent would have to be the humble impala. They are very good at adapting to the niche, and obviously, I mean, it's quite an advantage if you are a browser, but in certain times of the year you can switch over to grazing when it's more favorable, and when it's less favorable, then you can switch over to other food sources. So they're able to exploit many different niches in the habitats in which they're found. Compared to a zebra, which is only a grazer, they can never really make use of browsing. So yeah.
this unfolds in front of you.
What does it take to handle the wild? Balance. Determination. Focus.
Yaku!
And gear that can take a beating so you don't have to.
And that's it for this morning's drive.
She's just got an impala, everybody.
And we're going to be heading out and seeing what animals we can find.
These Ellies are certainly making the best of their drinking opportunity at King's Camp. I would definitely call this one maybe the more premium waterholes. I think all this water is relatively fresh, and it's quite a well-built waterhole. Or well-constructed waterhole, maybe that's a better term. But well, just two young bulls doing their thing, learning their lessons in life. Especially very mature bulls, but well, they've probably recently been kicked out of the herd, so they're finding their way in life. Well, our Ellies have deserted us now as they go on with the day. We're going to see what's happening at Lentor. Oh, that's nice. We've got a couple of zebras heading in, and it looks like we've got a few 5 inches drinking. I see they've darted off, but we at least caught a glimpse of them. It is normally this time of day, and you will expect to see your seed eaters drinking from waterholes. Stuart, you mentioned how you love the cameras with our eye level with the animals. I agree. It's a very unique perspective, and it almost feels like you are really there in person, compared to when you've got a bit more of a high level view. And I think Lentor is also a very good example of that, where you are really eye level with, or almost eye level with the water. And these zebras, it looks like we're looking straight into their eyes. Michelle, you'd like to know which animal is the most cautious when it comes to drinking at a waterhole. I think all animals they exercise a certain level of caution based on what dangers are present in the area. Obviously, in an environment maybe where there aren't big cats, animals are less cautious, or if there's not crocodiles present. But I think over and above that, I think giraffes are always the most cautious when it comes to drinking, just due to how vulnerable they are when they bend down the way they do and spread their legs, etc., to take a drink. And that's quite a tedious process for them, and they obviously haven't got the ability to really look around what's going on, or they can't just get up and go. They're a bit vulnerable in that position. So I would wager that giraffes probably are the most cautious when it comes to taking that time to drink. However, we can really see these zebras are quite careful as they approach the waterhole here at Lentor. It's quite a big herd, but they seem to be very alert as they ever so slowly approach the water's edge here. Of course, there are many big cats in the Lentor area. To be honest, all the zebras truly have to worry about are lions, but it is interesting to see how alert they are. So they might be picking up possibly on scents of lions. But yeah, very interesting. Agatha mentioning how you've never seen zebras here, only monkeys and birds. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think I've seen zebras at Lentor. Once I've seen impala, and then obviously also I've seen snapshots of elephants and cats in the evening. There's quite a few cats that do come past here, but yeah, Lentor's certainly an interesting waterhole. I think all the textbook example of it's quiet until it's not quiet. There is a lot of action around here. You just need to be patient. But it probably is one of your better waterholes when it comes to watching birds and smaller creatures like monkeys, etc. We don't often see large herds passing through here, but certainly a treat to see a large herd of zebras. Maybe old Donio sent all their zebras over for a change here. Gillian, you'd like to know how long does a female zebra carry a calf for? So a female zebra's gestation, obviously it can only be a female, but is roughly a year, about 360 days to be a bit more precise, but yeah, roughly about a year. Quite a long period of time. See, we had a bit of antics playing out there with some of the zebras in the background, fighting a bit with each other. But it's very interesting, we haven't really seen the zebras anywhere in this frame come down to drink. So I fathom that they've probably already drank, hence we're not seeing them come down to the waterhole. Well, while the zebra make up their mind, we're going to head back over to King's Camp to see our eddies that have returned.
My name is Amy, and today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently.
The Wild Earth Impact Foundation is a non-profit that uses the power of wildlife storytelling as a force for good. We create sustainable development projects that showcase conservation stories, empower people, and inspire environmental action. As a registered South African PBO, you can make a tax-deductible donation to the Wild Earth Impact Foundation. To find out more, visit our website.
Every week, the wilderness delivers.
And that's why we're here.
Drama, chaos, crimes, humour. All moments you'll never forget. We've counted them down, argued about them, and finally picked the very best. From rare sightings to classic bush showdowns, this is nature's weekly highlight reel. Sharp facts, bad jokes, and the wildest top 5 you'll see this side of the savannah. It's not just a show, it's a wild bush week.
Can you hear that? The wild is calling.
Another question from Garth asking if all elephants have tusks. So normally yes, all elephants should have tusks. There is a tuskless gene that floats around. You generally see it in elephant cows. It's not very prevalent in bulls at all. But obviously it depends on area to area. Some elephants have more prominent tusks, other ones tend to have smaller tusks. But something that's quite interesting is in the Mozambican region, where a lot of national parks have kind of resurged, or after the civil war that took place there, and have been reconserved or looked after again. And due to all the poaching that took place in the Civil War, a lot of elephants were poached for ivory. And due to the way they were poaching, obviously shooting elephants with ivory, elephants that had very small or little ivory were often left unscathed in the process. And it's actually caused tusklessness to become quite prevalent in some of those populations. So in parts of Mozambique you will actually see tuskless bulls. Kind of an interesting way, you'd say natural selection, but in a way humans have kind of fast-tracked it in those regions due to the poaching, unfortunately. But at the same time it's also in the elephant's benefit. If it doesn't have tusks, then people won't poach them. So quite interesting how nature adapts to human conflict or the pressures of mankind. Not always in a good way, but sometimes there are good outcomes. Sounds like our zebra finally mustered the courage to have a bit of a drink, so we're going to pop over to Lentor to watch that. Well, you can definitely tell the zebra are drinking in their droves. The water is taking on a bit of a muddier, murky, I wouldn't say transparency, but colour. Although it is quite interesting to note how all these zebras are not really wading in, they're just having a sip to drink. Not really getting carried away like our zebras at Aldonia would. Also quite a good photographic opportunity here. All these zebras lined up the way they are, behaving themselves for once maybe. Normally they get quite rowdy at the waterhole. But interesting to note how cautious these zebras are, often picking up their heads and looking around, making sure. Hannah mentioned it's a very orderly line, I do agree. Generally used to a bit more dramatics from the zebras. These ones are quite well trained, drinking with a bit of manners today. few more questions rolling in. Didier, you'd like to know what is a baby zebra called? So they are referred to as foals. It's the same naming concept as horses. So you've got your stallions, your mares, and then obviously your foals. Jackie, you'd also like to know how mother zebras recognize their babies. So there is definitely, I think to an extent, visuality, but I would surmise that they rely a whole lot more on scent. So a mother zebra will definitely recognize her offspring quite closely with the scent, etc. So that plays quite a large role in singling out one's young in a herd structure such as this. Mike, you're asking if zebras have sharp teeth. So zebras don't have incisors like us humans, or sorry, not incisors, canines. They do have incisors, but they can give you a nasty bite. I think it's just more from the force they can inflict, but yeah, they do have incisors which they use for cropping grass. I wouldn't necessarily call it sharp, but yeah, with enough force it can cause some damage.
My name is Amy, and today we're going to be doing things a little bit differently.
Greatest wildlife spectacle on planet Earth. We'll see you there.
Out here, every wild moment counts, and as a Wild Earth explorer, you will not miss out. Watch the Wild Earth channel ad-free 24/7, and you can even rewind if you have missed out on something. Enjoy the behind-the-scenes video clips, as well as fireside chat, or get the early offers on our travel experiences. It's the best way to stay connected and be part of the Wild Earth family.
I doubt that will happen, but you never know what lies in store in the future. Obviously that would take quite a serious amount of time to take place, but it'll be quite entertaining to see a QR code zebra. I see we've also got a gemsbok or oryx strolling in. Seems to be on its own. I can't see any others. Chloe, you'd like to know if you can ride a zebra like a horse. For all intents and purposes, I imagine you could, but from what I understand, zebras are not easily tamed or broken, as they call in the horse circles or horse riding fraternity. They are quite stubborn, so yeah, I don't think it would be very comfortable. I don't think the zebra would ever really tolerate it. I'm sure it has been done once or twice throughout history, but yeah, I think it's for that reason that people ride horses and not zebras, or that zebras have never really been, or zebras haven't been domesticated, and those are horses that were domesticated. Obviously very closely related, but I would say the zebra is the unruly, stubborn, wild cousin of the wild horse. Yeah, things are quieting down a bit here, but we're gonna go over to King's Camp. It sounds like there's a pool party taking place. Oh wow, this has really gotten quite busy here. Ellies are right up against the camera, and they are enjoying themselves. I really turned the water up somewhat. See, the water is quite shallow here, it's not a deep watering hole, but they are certainly making the most of it. Rich mentioning how he feels part of the herd. I do agree. Almost feels as if we are here in person with the elephants. All that's missing is maybe a bit of that misting spray from the ellies to make it really as if you're there. Or a bit of mud. It makes me think of a paint commercial from a couple of years ago, or many years ago. Splish Splash. I was taking a bath and there was a couple elephants splashing around in a water hole and then spraying mud on a wall. But it certainly lives rent-free in my head in this moment. Well, the pool party's come to a bit of an end here. We're going to head over to Anguma. Well, it seems like our giraffe has given us a bit of a disappearing act here. Ironic how we were talking about how cautious they can be to her, or sorry, heading in for a drink or at a waterhole, and he seems to have disappeared completely. We've got a few birds coming down. We've got some guinea fowl, and well, the guinea fowl are coming down to drink, and we've got a blacksmith's lapwing between foraging or just managing its territory there. Well, since things have quietened down here, we're going to head over to Tao, where there's a bit more action going. Apologies. Oh, there's our giraffe. We're going to stay here a bit longer and enjoy the giraffe. You can see our giraffes very carefully approaching the water, keeping a careful eye out, and ever so gracefully reaching down for us. Aisha, you'd like to know if giraffes can get a sore neck from being so tall. I don't think so. I think they do rest where they can, etc. But they're all quite uniquely adapted for their, I'd say their lifestyle, but also how they are. Their body is quite uniquely adapted for dealing with the tough, what the right word is here, but the unique adaptation of having such a long neck. Their body is quite uniquely adapted to dealing with when it comes to pumping blood throughout their body, etc., and their vertebra. Mr. Patel with quite a interesting observation, but you're mentioning how it's fascinating that giraffes have the same number of neck bones as humans. How is it even possible? So yeah, it's quite interesting. If you kind of look into it more in depth, most mammals are kind of genetically locked in to having 7 cervical vertebrae. So humans have 7, giraffes have 7, and across the board for most mammals it's like that. I would say that's just an evolutionary trait that's kind of tied in with mammals. But in the giraffe's case, instead of evolving more neck vertebrae, it just their vertebra evolved to be much longer and shaped differently to deal with the expanding or the lengthening neck, which was spearheaded by the fact of them being able to exploit a niche browsing opportunity in their habitat, compared to other antelopes which are competing with each other at relatively the same browsing level. Giraffes were able to get ahead of that competition and exploit a relatively untouched niche, and that's what drove that adaptation. Elena, you'd like to know if giraffes can swim. I must say I've never ever witnessed it. I've seen giraffes crossing rivers, but at the same time their incredibly long legs mean they just actually generally wade through a river. I don't think they would ever really venture into a very deep river. I think they're also quite cautious. Obviously, if a giraffe slips and falls, it's quite detrimental to it. It can obviously injure itself quite seriously, or it's a target for predators. But I don't think they're very good swimmers. I think they would avoid it as much as possible. I think if they were forced into a situation, I don't even actually really want to say I don't think they can swim very well. Just considering how careful they tend to be when it comes to walking, or and how they are mobile in the environment. They tend to be quite careful. I don't think they would be very good swimmers. If you look at them, it's in a way they kind of do everything in slow motion. So I don't think they would do very well if they were forced to swim. Maybe out of necessity they would survive, but I don't think it's their preferred thing. Well, we're going to leave our curious giraffes here and head over to Tau. Oh, this is quite a congregation of impala here. Quite a nice big herd. They're definitely making the most of some of the greenery starting to flush as the seasons change in southern Africa. Just another example of their adaptability. They are able to exploit or feed on these small shrubs or plants that are starting to bud. And I think off the surface it might appear like they're grazing, but it's not grass that they're feeding on, but small little broadleaf plants. Which would be considered a dicotyledon. Any plant lovers out there, your grasses are monocots, so all your broadleaf plants are dicots. Liam wondering if impalas ever get tired of being alert. I think they certainly do. They are obviously number one on the menu for almost everything. Jackals will harass them, hyenas, lions, leopards, cheetahs. So that is pretty much the life of an impala, eating, drinking and being alert 24/7. But also, once again, there's social structure and adaptation to dealing with that. Obviously there's safety in numbers, but having much more eyes and ears helps maybe reduce being so alert, but at least you can rely, or in impala's viewpoint anyway, you can rely on someone else maybe hearing something or seeing something and using that as a sign to get out of dodge. So we've got a few wildebeest strolling through.
Oh, wow.
Best sighting I've presented. I found myself with wild dogs. We chased the dogs around, chased them around. They ate an impala. We got the end of that. Then another impala went into Gowrie Dam down the road there, and the wild dogs went around. Eventually the impala came close to the bank. One wild dog went and grabbed it and then just pulled it out and just did what wild dogs do. It was an emotional experience, but it was very, very special.
Ria, you say the best kind of roadblock? Absolutely. Look at this.
Hello, girls. We are here with a male leopard.
It's truly amazing how high an impala can jump. Do excuse me for the 10 feet conversion. I know it's roughly about 3 to 4 meters, but yeah, it's crazy to think a small antelope like that can jump so high. So I'm just taking notice of our prehistoric friend, the crocodile here, and doing a bit of a posture change. You can see him quite nicely, but now it seems to have turned a bit. Lulu, you're asking if impalas get along with other animals like zebras or wildebeest. It's not so much on the term of really getting along or being friends. They happily associate with other herbivores. That's just also, once again, out of a safety thing. If you're associating with other animals, it's just more eyes and ears to keep out for danger. But yeah, where impala tend to feed, etc., they don't really associate with zebras or wildebeest. zebras and wildebeest being strictly grazers, so they tend to operate more in open areas, although that is more safer for impalas, just for keeping an eye out on danger or predators. But impala tend to associate more in a bit of a woody habitat where they browse. So that's generally why you don't see them too often together, just I think purely out of a net dietary requirements, keeping them apart a bit. Danger you'd like to know if impalas can outrun a cheetah. Well, although impalas are incredibly quick, no, they cannot. Cheetah is quite a bit faster than an impala. I think a lot of the other gazelle maybe give the cheetah a bit more of a run for their money, but their most antelope strategy to beating the incredibly quick cheetah is zigzagging or changing their direction very sharply. That's where they generally get a bit of a break from the cheetah, and as long as they can break that or increase the distance between them and the cheetah and then run further, they generally tend to be safe. But yeah. Sana, you'd like to know why some impalas have horns and others don't. So the reason for that is male impalas have horns and females do not have horns. So that's the simple reason behind that. But oh wow, it's been a nice session here at the Tau. We're going to head over for some birding at the hide. Although there's certainly enough birds to keep us busy here, but let's keep our options open. So we've got a raptor there. It appears to be a yellow-billed kite from what I can see. Quite an easy one to remember. There we go, there goes our kite. But yeah, obviously the yellow bill, the large reason for the name there. It's interesting to note they are busy with a global bird list which will consolidate all different birding names and common names from across the globe, and on the cards is that the yellow-billed kite will be lumped with the black kite, so there will no longer really actually be a yellow-billed kite but merely a black kite. Things have quietened down here. We're going to head over to Aldonio. I'm a bit excited. We haven't been to Aldonio yet. Quite a dark specimen here at the waterhole, especially in these giraffe species of Kenya. They tend to be a bit more light or have a lot more white in them. And our southern African giraffe tend to be, or the bulls especially, tend to be quite dark. But it is not often that you see such a dark Kenyan giraffe. But speaking of dark variants, on that note, there's a black leopard safari taking place in Kenya from the 9th to the 18th of June in 2026. It will be in the Masai Mara and Laikipia, Kenya region. Quite a small intimate group of about 6 people, so that's always a great one for getting the most out of those visits. And it will be guided by Steve Falconbridge himself, so we're all quite familiar with Steve. Quite an awesome experience. And the unique part of this is obviously the chance to see the rare black leopard in Laikipia's remote wilderness. It's a bit of a well-known spot for where melanistic leopards, I don't know, black leopards is another term, but the correct term would be your melanistic leopards. But yeah, quite a hot spot for seeing them, and with relatively good success rates. But yeah, once again, that real classic safari feeling at Offbeat Mara Camp, which is a prime wilderness area, and boasts exceptional game viewing, including big fire, but obviously the focus being on the melanistic leopard. But of course, limited availability with a small group size like this, and it's really suited and tailored for true wildlife enthusiasts. So if you're keen for something like that, definitely go have a look and grab this once in a lifetime opportunity. It's quite funny today, the giraffes are not really drinking for too long. We see them for short stints and then they disappear. Ironically, here also at Aldonio, as soon as the giraffes left, the guinea fowl were in the picture. I just want to say maybe the giraffes have a phobia of guinea fowl today. Quite a nice close-up of our guinea fowl friends there. Also a pied wagtail in the background. But for all intents and purposes, I often enjoy calling guinea fowl the African turkey. I think that is probably their closest relative to the turkey. It's very interesting now that we've got a bit of a close-up. Obviously guinea fowls are quite widespread throughout Africa. But I can really see a lot of differences between the ones we get here in southern Africa versus these fellows here in Kenya. Subtle, but very interesting.
Even our hyena coming into the action as well now. Oh my word!
She's stalking the hyena now. Leopard, hyena, lion, all together in one shot. Oh. This is action-packed.
The bush, full of beauty, wonder, and absolute chaos. And now, all that madness has its own show. It's called a Wild Bush Week. The countdown of the most outrageous, heart-stopping, and sometimes downright ridiculous wildlife moments of the week. Lions throwing their weight around. Hyenas gate-crashing the buffet. Leopards doing, well, leopardy things. Each week, it's a fresh reel of safari gold, a mix of drama,
She's just got an impala, everybody.
danger, and a healthy dose of laughter. So, if you fancy a highlight show with bite, and I don't mean just the animals, tune in to a Wild Bush Week. You bring the tea, and we'll bring the tusks, tails, and teeth.
Meg, that's a very valid observation. Normally, Aldonio tends to be very dominated by the elephants. I was going to say it's possibly early in the day, but it is basically midday, so it's actually funny we're not seeing too many ellies around here. And the giraffe, almost in a way, have got a complete monopoly of the waterhole here at Aldonio today. Normally they are contending with the zebras or the elephants. And we often see them milling around in the background, but everyone's got their shift at the waterhole. Warren Brown with a comment saying how guinea fowls are so pretty, he can't get enough of them. They are very pretty birds. I think at first glance they maybe don't look too special, but when you get to see the details a bit more up close, their beauty is quite unique. All their white spots on their feathers, their striking facial features with the blue and red skin and their crest. And I mean, this is just the helmeted guinea fowl. There's also a few other guinea fowl species that are just as pretty, if not a bit more weirder and more striking. But yeah, they are quite pretty birds. We in the summer there's a guinea fowl pair that pairs off near our house, and for some reason it likes to peck against the window, almost like nature's alarm clock. Instead of having a rooster crowing, we deep in the summer have a guinea fowl talking against our bedroom window. But it's a fantastic treat. I'm gonna leave our giraffe and guinea fowl to carry on and head over to our nice viewpoint at Lentor. Sounds like there's some birds waiting for us. There we go, nice example of a little 5-inch at the water's edge here. I can't see too clearly. Just out of, when I say I can't see too clearly, I can't pick up too much of the fine details of splitting the species, but I assume it's a red-billed 5-inch. I actually want to have a look at some of my Kenyan birds. There is quite an assortment of 5-inch species in Kenya. If I had to take a guess, I would say that was the red-billed 5-inch, but always difficult if you can't see too well. Let's see, we've got a few doves also having a drink. So we've actually got, we've got 3 different dove species, 2 dove species, sorry. Your wood doves, those look like emerald spotted wood doves. The Makwa dove, let's double check that is its name in Kenya, but it looks just like our Southern African Makwa dove. And we've got a laughing dove, so quite an assortment of dove species here. Jackson, that's what's my favorite bird and why? I think it's a very tough question when you consider how many different type of birds there are. Geez, there's another dove there. Wow, we're really being treated to some different dove diversity. I think some of my favorite birds are helmet shrikes. They are very quirky, very striking and decorative little birds, and they live in social groupings, or family groups essentially, you could say that, and they stick together. So I always enjoy watching their antics and what they get up to. In South Africa we've got the Retz's helmet shrike and the white crested helmet shrike. So those would be, I think, if I had to pick a favorite, but I'm not always very keen on picking a favorite. Lily, you'd like to know where have I guided and how long. So I'm not a full-time guide. I work in the agricultural industry. So yeah, I can't really say I've guided at any or permanently at any point in my life. But I from time to time do a fair bit of bird guiding in the area, just in conjunction with local birding clubs. So that would be in the Hoedspruit or the Greater Kruger region. So I've spent a lot of time in the bush. And we're going to leave our doves to enjoy their drink, and we've got a pool party waiting for us at Tembe. I don't think we should be surprised who's having the pool party. Oh wow, these elephants are really getting stuck in. Bit more of a proper pool party compared to the elephants at King's Camp. These guys can really submerge themselves. And also at Tembe there's a number of pans to pick from, so you can pick the pool that suits you best. Very pretty to see the tree that's always the centerpiece of our view at Tembe is now flowering. This is it's quite a long name in English. It's called the Heil Boer Boon Boom. I think sometimes my Afrikaans and English get mixed, but essentially the weeping farmer bean. Quite a pretty, striking tree. It's always fantastic just watching the elephants fool around or roughhouse a bit. It's interesting that some of them are quite happy to just watch from the sidelines, and other ones are going headfirst into the water. Oh, there we go. Got a squirrel that's come for a sip of water. Looks like he's using his tail like a bit of an umbrella. So the African squirrels are quite pretty for me. Well, most squirrels are actually quite pretty.
Let's go and take a look. See you out there.
At Wild Earth, we believe every story has the power to create change. That's why we've launched the Wild Earth Impact Foundation, a non-profit dedicated to conservation and social impact. By showcasing conservation stories, we can change lives, protect nature, and empower communities. We have partnered with Empowers Africa to accept tax-deductible donations from US donors. Your donation will help fund critical programs that support our mission. Join us and be part of the change.
My full name is Mpho Muthusi Tikani. I grew up in Soweto. My first animal that I filmed is a dog. Okay, no, it's my first animal that I filmed, I think it was an impala. Best sighting ever, I would say it was actually this year, 2024. But it was at this Cedric when we had Muluwati and TP on a waterhole kill. I think we have to cut it.
There's some ellies that we're approaching now.
The light on her as well is absolutely gorgeous.
So we are going to enjoy the rest of this sunset.
Wow, 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 this is absolutely crazy.
And thank you for joining us. For myself and Cam, we will see you next time.
If you love watching Wild Earth, here's a little tip. You'll gain access to the channel ad-free. You can rewind and rewatch sightings and gain access to our live Tuesday safaris. There's also behind the scenes videos, fireside chats, and every safari live episode, whenever it suits you. It's just the best way to connect with nature.
When you're in America or Europe, or do they stay on the ground? So yeah, most of the squirrels in Africa live on trees, etc. But in the more arid parts of South Africa, we have a ground squirrel. It's quite cool. It's a squirrel on all accounts, but they don't climb into trees. They live in burrows. I would almost liken it to a prairie dog, essentially. But they live in little social groupings and yeah, are solely restricted to terra firma, that's the word I was looking for. Quite a close-up of a baboon there, sticking his head in front of the camera. I'm not sure where he's gone now. A rather peaceful setting here at the water of the baboons. They seem to be behaving themselves. There's not too much chaos going on. Yeah, baboons are always entertaining to watch at a distance. They can be quite destructive. If they ever get into your house, you will probably cry. They can do quite a bit of damage and make a big mess. My parents' house this week was raided by monkeys. They managed to squeeze in through a window and caused chaos, but tame in comparison to what baboons are capable of. I'm gonna leave our baboons to the antics, and we've got a raptor waiting for us at Safari Hook. I'm suspicious that our raptor might have given us the slip. Oh no, there it is. Not sure what eagle it is. Probably a tawny eagle. Could possibly also be a steppe eagle. You can see it as a true eagle due to its feathered legs, so that narrows it down. For example, your kites or some of your other raptors that aren't, or hawks, etc. They have bare legs. So your true eagles always have feathered legs. But there's a number of options. Lesser spotted eagle, but its legs are quite puffy, so that rules that one out. Yeah, I'm of the opinion it's either a tawny eagle or a Wahlberg's eagle. I think it's a tawny eagle though. Some awesome questions coming in. So we actually have a springbok joining the eagle for a drink. Also very cool picture or scene, seeing the two side by side. Amara, you'd like to know if birds of prey only eat meat, or do they sometimes eat fruit and seeds? So yeah, your birds of prey, due to their bill shape and adaptations and their feet also, force them to only be able to eat meat. There are some other birds that are a bit more, I say their diets are varied. They can eat fruit, seeds, and meat. I must say fruit and seeds, that's generally seed eaters won't really touch fruit. But yeah, it's just once again we speak of those generalists in habitats. But yeah, birds of prey eat exclusively on meat. And Avery, you'd like to know, can birds of prey live in cities or do they only stay in the wild? So there are some birds of prey that have adapted quite well to living in cities. Peregrine falcons are an example. Kestrels. I wouldn't really call crows or ravens birds of prey, but they're up there. But yeah, no, there's quite a few birds of prey, or a few birds of prey, sorry, that live quite well side by side with humans in cities, and it's just due to the population explosion of pigeons or other little garden birds that allow them. So yeah, your peregrine falcon would be a good example. Some kestrels. I had a friend who sent me a picture of a kestrel that caught a pigeon outside their office block, and it was eating it on the balcony. So they are always there. We don't see them too often, but they are very sneaky opportunists. Also in Southern Africa we get little sparrowhawks. They're always also around or nearby human habitation in gardens, making the most of the proliferation of smaller birds, which are their prey. This eagle is certainly giving us quite a nice view of himself, but we're going to pop over to Tanzania. Ooh, something gave those zebras a bit of a fright there. And this is a first for me on Live at the Waterhole, seeing the Serengeti Explorer. I have watched this cam a few times in my own time, but it's actually quite nice to see some zebras at it. It can be, well, it's easy to say a waterhole can be quiet, but as is expected, there's not always 24/7 action happening. Although Aldonio and Tembe seem to rewrite the rules on that one. But nice to see the zebras having a drink. They are certainly very cautious or edgy. I'm sure there are plenty of lions in this area. Everyone just peacefully milling about now. Seems like they've gotten a bit over their jitters, but never say never. Yeah, there we go. Jinxed it a bit there. Very on edge, or very alert.
What does it take to handle the wild? Balance. Determination. Focus.
Yaku! and gear that can take a beating so you don't have to.
Oh, she's gonna catch it.
Come on, Tommy.
Watch this, we're about to see a kill.
You can see how close he is from where I am. Out here, every moment counts. As a Wild Earth explorer, you won't miss a thing. Watch the Wild Earth channel ad-free 24/7 and rewind if you want to catch something again. Enjoy behind the scenes videos, fireside chats and early access to travel offers. It's the best way to stay connected and be part of the Wild Earth family.
Quite a large waterhole this. I see our zebras have left us, so we're going to head over to Founders. Quite a pretty setting, a bit more overcast on the Eastern Cape, but even then, wonderful reflections. Very pretty. Garth with a question asking if herds have scouts that will check for the safety for the rest. I don't think it's necessarily specifically certain animals that are the scout in the herd. I think it's whoever's approaching first will be quite alert, and the other animals kind of relying on that alertness. But yeah, it certainly sucks to be the first animal approaching. But at the same time, it's not often the first animal that gets grabbed. Obviously, the predator's watching it, it's waiting and picking a target. It's not necessarily the first animal that it, or the animal in front that gets jumped. So maybe sometimes there is a bit of value in going first. Jenny, you were saying you'd love to hear what sound a rhino makes. So aside from the general huffing or puffing that they make when they exhale, they make quite loud squealing noises sometimes. You don't often hear it. I know with black rhinos people liken it to kind of a whistling sound, but yeah, you wouldn't expect it from a rhino, that's for sure, but it's quite a high-pitched little squeal that they make if they're excited or interacting with each other. Very unique. I think for the last bit of the show we're going to head over to Safari Hook and try to figure out what that raptor is. Okay, I'm now whipping out my bird guide app. So what's quite important in this situation is the gape, where it extends to the eye. So from what I can see, it's kind of extending into the middle of the raptor's eye. Obviously first prize would be if you had your own pair of binoculars watching it. Let's see. So tawny eagle is definitely a good option. They are quite well represented in Tosha. Quite a dark brown, this raptor. Well, not too dark brown. Steppe eagles also an option, but they're not very common in the Tosha area. They do occur there, but quite rare. And on the steppe eagle, they say that gape, that corner of its mouth extends past the eye, so we know it's not a steppe eagle then. Tawny eagle's looking quite good. The gape is in the middle of the eye. Lesser spotted eagle we've ruled out earlier. The legs are far too fluffy. I'm quite confident to say it's a tawny eagle in my opinion. I think the features are in that direction. Relatively large eagle. The general coloration, the gape seems to be correct for me with the middle of the eye there. Obviously with a pair of binoculars there's a few more finer details you could look into, such as eye color and the shape of the nostrils, but yeah, in my opinion this would be a tawny eagle for the birding list today. So we also have a Namakwa dove in the background there. Keeping a very careful look on the eagle. Obviously the dove is feeling relatively safe, but yeah, just to end off before we finish off, but thanks again to everyone with all the questions, or for all the questions. You really had some cool and interesting ones. I hope most of them were answered, and once again, have a wonderful Saturday further. Enjoy the drive later, and thanks again. It's really been a great session. I'll see everyone again tomorrow.